A mafia boss walked in to find his daughter sobbing in the maid's arms, whispering secrets she'd never tell him. He thought he was protecting his family by staying distant, until he realized this quiet woman had become the one person his daughter trusted most. What he didn't know, she was about to become the one person he couldn't let go. The gunshot echoed through Alessandro Romano's mind as he stepped through the mahogany doors of his Chicago mansion. 3 hours. That's how long the meeting with the Corsetti family had taken. 3 hours of threats disguised as negotiations, of counting how many guns were hidden under expensive suits, of reminding them why the Romano name still meant something on the South Side. He was tired. 42 years old, and tired in ways sleep couldn't fix. The house was quiet. Too quiet. Maria, the head housekeeper, usually had dinner smells floating through the hallways by 6 o'clock. Alessandro loosened his tie and headed toward the kitchen, his leather shoes silent on marble floors. Then he heard it.
Crying.
Not the dramatic sobbing of someone who wanted attention. This was the broken, hiccuping kind of crying that came from a child who had held it in all day. His daughter's crying. Alessandro's blood went cold. He moved fast, following the sound to the library at the end of the West Wing. He pushed the door open without knocking. Sophia sat curled up in Isabella's lap in the leather armchair by the window. His 9-year-old daughter's face was buried in Isabella's shoulder, her small body shaking. Isabella's arms were wrapped around her, one hand stroking Sophia's dark curls, whispering something too quiet for him to hear. Neither of them had noticed him yet. Sophia? Alessandro's voice came out harder than he meant it to. Both of them jumped. Sophia's tear-stained face turned toward him, and something in her expression made his chest tighten.
Fear.
His daughter looked afraid of him. Papa, Sophia whispered, trying to wipe her face with her sleeve. Isabella stood quickly, settling Sophia gently on the chair. Mr. Romano, I didn't hear you come in. Clearly, Alessandro's eyes moved between them. What happened? Who hurt her? Nobody hurt me, Sophia said quickly. Too quickly. Alessandro took 3 steps forward and knelt in front of his daughter, forcing his voice to soften. Sweetheart, you're crying. Something happened. Tell me. Sophia's bottom lip trembled. She looked at Isabella, not him. That look, that silent plea, hit Alessandro like a punch to the gut. Sophia, Isabella said gently. Your father should know. But you said. I said I wouldn't tell him if you didn't want me to. But he's asking now. And he deserves to know. Alessandro stood up, his jaw tight. Someone better start talking.
Now.
Isabella met his eyes without flinching. She was 28, with dark eyes and the kind of quiet strength that made people underestimate her. She'd worked in his house for 2 years, and in that time, he'd barely spoken 10 words to her that weren't orders. Sophia's been having trouble at school, Isabella said.
Trouble. Alessandro frowned.
What kind of trouble? Is someone failing her? I'll have them. The kids call me murder girl, Sophia whispered. The words hung in the air like smoke. Alessandro felt his hands curl into fists. What? They say, Sophia's voice cracked. They say you kill people. That I'm going to grow up and kill people too. That my mom died because God punishes bad families. Something dark and violent rose in Alessandro's chest. Who said that? Mr. Romano. Isabella started. Who?
Said.
That. It doesn't matter who, Isabella said firmly. Half the class whispers it. Their parents talk, and kids repeat what they hear. She's been dealing with it for months. Months. Alessandro turned to his daughter. Why didn't you tell me? Sophia shrank back into the chair. You're always busy. And you're always angry. The words shouldn't have hurt. He was a mafia boss. Being angry was part of the job. But coming from his daughter's mouth, they cut deeper than any knife. I'm not angry at you, Alessandro said, fighting to keep his voice level. I'm angry at the people who hurt you. You can't shoot kids, Papa. Despite everything, Alessandro almost smiled.
No, baby.
I can't shoot kids. But their parents. Alessandro, Isabella's voice was sharp. That's not helping. He turned to face her, surprised by the tone. Nobody interrupted him. Nobody corrected him, especially not a maid. Excuse me? Isabella didn't back down. Threatening parents won't fix this. Sofia needs support, not revenge. You work for me, Alessandro said quietly.
Dangerously.
Remember that. I work for your family, Isabella corrected. And right now, your daughter needs you to be a father, not a boss. The silence that followed was explosive. Alessandro stared at this woman who had just challenged him in his own house, with his own daughter watching. He should fire her. He should make an example of her. But Sofia was looking at Isabella with something close to worship in her eyes. How long has this been going on? Alessandro asked finally. 3 months, Isabella admitted. Since the school found out about your business connections. And you handled it? Without telling me? I handled what I could. I talked to the principal. I sat with Sofia during lunch when the kids wouldn't. I drove her home when she called me crying from the bathroom. Alessandro felt like he'd been slapped. She called you? Someone had to answer, Isabella said simply.
The truth of it burned.
While he was out building his empire, protecting his territory, making sure the Romano name commanded respect, his daughter had been falling apart, and a maid had been the one catching her. From now on, Alessandro said, his voice rough, you tell me everything. Understand? Isabella nodded. And Sofia, he turned to his daughter. You call me. Not Isabella. Me. Sofia's eyes filled with tears again. You don't understand like she does. Then make me understand. You can't. Sofia's voice rose. You're the reason they hate me. Because of what you are. What we are. She ran from the room, her footsteps echoing down the hallway. Alessandro stood frozen, his daughter's words ringing in his ears. Isabella moved toward the door, then paused. She doesn't mean that. Yes, she does. Alessandro's voice was hollow. She's right. I am the reason. No, Isabella said quietly. You're the reason she's still safe. She just doesn't understand that yet. She left him alone in the library, surrounded by books he never read, in a house that suddenly felt like a prison. Alessandro walked to the window and looked out at the manicured lawn, the iron gates, the guards positioned at every corner. He'd built an empire to protect his family. But he hadn't protected his daughter from the one thing his money couldn't fix. The truth. Alessandro didn't sleep that night. He sat in his office with a glass of bourbon he never drank, staring at the family photo on his desk. It was 3 years old, the last one they'd taken before cancer stole his wife, Gabriella. Sofia looked happy in that picture. When had she stopped looking at him like that? At 2 a.m, he heard footsteps in the hallway. Soft, careful footsteps. He opened his door quietly and saw a sliver of light coming from Sofia's bedroom down the hall. He moved closer, staying in the shadows. Through the cracked door, he could see Sofia sitting up in bed, her face blotchy from crying. Isabella sat on the edge of the mattress, holding a glass of warm milk. Drink this, sweet girl, Isabella said. It'll help you sleep. I don't want to sleep, Sofia's voice was small. I keep having the same dream. The one about school? Sofia nodded. Everyone's pointing at me and laughing. And Papa's standing in the back with a gun, and they all run away screaming. Then I'm alone. Alessandro's chest tightened. Isabella brushed Sofia's hair back from her face. Your father loves you very much. Then why does he make everyone scared? Because sometimes being strong means people fear you. But that doesn't mean you're bad. Your father protects people. Our family. Our neighborhood. He's not a monster, Sofia. The kids say. The kids don't know him. They don't see what I see. Sofia looked up at Isabella with those big brown eyes. What do you see? I see a man who works himself to exhaustion so you can live in this beautiful house. I see someone who checks your bedroom window locks every night before he goes to bed. I see a father who's scared he's losing his daughter and doesn't know how to get her back. Alessandro's breath caught. He hadn't realized anyone noticed those things. "He's not losing me," Sophia whispered. "Then why won't you talk to him?" "Because," Sophia's voice broke. "Because when I look at him, I see Mama. They had the same eyes. And it hurts too much." Isabella pulled Sophia into her arms, and the girl started crying again. "I know, baby. I know it hurts. Don't tell Papa," Sophia said between sobs. "Only you understand. Promise you won't tell him." "I promise," Isabella whispered. "I promise." Alessandro backed away from the door, his jaw clenched so tight his teeth ached. He walked back to his office and closed the door quietly. His daughter was crying about her dead mother to the maid. Not to him. To Isabella. The jealousy hit him like a wave. He was Sophia's father. He was supposed to be the one comforting her, understanding her. But instead, she ran to a woman who'd only been in their lives for 2 years.
Why?
The question burned in his mind. What did Isabella have that he didn't? What was he missing? Alessandro spent the next morning watching. Really watching. He saw Isabella make Sophia breakfast, scrambled eggs with cheese, cut up strawberries arranged in a smiley face. His daughter actually smiled at the plate. He saw Isabella help Sophia with her homework at the kitchen table, patient and encouraging even when Sophia got frustrated with math problems. He saw Isabella braid Sophia's hair, listening to her talk about a book she was reading, asking questions that made Sophia light up. And through it all, Alessandro stood in doorways and hallways, invisible to both of them, an outsider in his own home. At 3 o'clock, Isabella drove Sophia to some appointment. Alessandro didn't even know his daughter had appointments. He followed them in his black SUV, keeping 2 cars back, feeling ridiculous for spying on his own child. They pulled up to a small office building. The sign read, "Dr. Chen, Child Psychology." Alessandro's hands gripped the steering wheel. His daughter was seeing a therapist? Since when? He watched through the window as Isabella sat in the waiting room, her phone in her lap but her eyes on the door where Sophia had disappeared. She looked worried. Protective. 45 minutes later, Sophia came out. Her eyes were red, but she was smiling. Isabella hugged her immediately, and Sophia melted into the embrace. That's when Alessandro saw it clearly. The way Sophia's whole body relaxed around Isabella. The way she trusted her completely. The way she looked at Isabella like she was safe. When was the last time Sophia had looked at him that way? They stopped for ice cream on the way home. Alessandro parked down the street and watched them through the window of the shop. Sophia was laughing at something Isabella said, chocolate ice cream on her nose. His daughter could still laugh. She just couldn't laugh with him. The realization twisted like a knife. That evening, Alessandro found Isabella alone in the kitchen, washing dishes. "How long has Sophia been seeing a therapist?" he asked. Isabella turned, surprise flashing across her face. "Mr. Romano, I didn't hear." "Answer the question." She dried her hands on a towel. 6 weeks. "Who authorized that?" "I did. With your credit card. The bills go to your accountant, but I assumed you'd notice." Alessandro stepped closer. "You assumed I'd notice my daughter is in therapy? I assumed you'd read the financial reports your assistant sends every week." Isabella's voice was calm. "But you don't, do you? You sign them without looking." She was right, and that made it worse. "What else don't I know?" Alessandro asked quietly. Isabella hesitated. "Do you really want the answer to that?" "Yes. She has nightmares 4 times a week. She's failing social studies because the teacher keeps making examples of crime families in class. She skips lunch most days because eating in the cafeteria alone makes her sick. She told Dr. Chen last week that sometimes she wishes she wasn't a Romano." Each word hit like a bullet. "Why didn't you tell me?" Alessandro's voice was rough. "Because you're always busy saving the world," Isabella said. "And someone needed to save her." Alessandro stared at this woman, this maid, who knew his daughter better than he did. "Starting tomorrow," he said, "I want to know everything. Every appointment. Every tear. Every smile. Everything.
Why?
Because she's my daughter, Alessandro said. And I'm done being a stranger to her. Isabella nodded slowly. Okay, but Mr. Romano? You can't just observe her life. You have to be in it. She left him standing in the kitchen, her words echoing in the empty room. Alessandro looked out the window at the gardens where Sofia used to play before Gabriella died. Before everything changed. Tomorrow, he'd start fixing what he'd broken. If it wasn't already too late. The next morning, Alessandro canceled his meeting with the Corsetti family. When his consigliere, Marcus, raised his eyebrows, Alessandro simply said, "Family emergency." "Is Sofia all right?" Marcus asked. "That's what I'm about to find out." Alessandro started in Sofia's room. He went through her school folder, something he'd never done before. Inside, he found graded papers, permission slips, and a note from the principal requesting a parent meeting. The date was 2 weeks ago. He hadn't attended, but someone had. The meeting notes were in Isabella's handwriting. Principal Brennan expressed concern about Sofia's isolation. Suggested counseling already arranged. Promised to speak with Mrs. Patterson about classroom commentary. Follow-up meeting scheduled for next month. Alessandro sat on Sofia's bed, staring at the note. Isabella had been handling everything.
He found more.
A calendar tucked in Sofia's desk drawer with Isabella's notes. Early pickup, dentist. 3 p.m., bring strawberry smoothie for after. Another entry. Science fair project due. Need poster board and markers. Help with volcano experiment. Every important date.
Every small detail.
Isabella had written it all down. Alessandro went to the school that afternoon. The receptionist smiled when he walked in. "Mr. Romano, we weren't expecting you today. Is Ms. Isabella with you?" "No," Alessandro said. "I need to speak with Principal Brennan." The receptionist's smile faltered. "Is everything okay?" 10 minutes later, Alessandro sat across from a tired-looking man in his 50s. "Mr. Romano," Principal Brennan said, surprised. "This is unexpected. Usually Ms. Isabella handles." "That's what I'm here about," Alessandro interrupted. "Why does my maid handle my daughter's school affairs?" Brennan shifted uncomfortably. "Well, she's been your representative for the past year. She attends all meetings, responds to all emails. I assumed it was an arrangement you'd made."
A year?
Alessandro's voice went flat. "She's been doing this for a year?"
Yes.
In fact, Ms. Isabella is the only reason Sofia's situation improved at all. She personally addressed the bullying issue, worked with our counselor, even confronted Mrs. Patterson about making Sofia feel targeted in class. Alessandro leaned forward. Confronted? Mrs. Patterson was using unfortunate examples in her social studies lessons. Examples about organized crime that were clearly directed at Sofia. Ms. Isabella came to the school and, very politely but very firmly, explained why that was unacceptable. She cited district policy and threatened to file a formal complaint if it continued. Alessandro sat back, stunned. Isabella had threatened a teacher? On Sofia's behalf. "There's more," Brennan continued. 3 months ago, there was an incident outside the school gates. Alessandro's blood went cold. "What kind of incident?" "2 men approached Sofia when she was waiting for her ride. Ms. Isabella arrived just as they were trying to get Sofia into their car. Well, she stopped them. The world seemed to tilt. Stopped them how? According to the security footage, she pepper-sprayed one and broke the other one's nose with her elbow. Then she got Sofia inside and called the police. We assumed you knew about it." Alessandro couldn't breathe. "Did they catch the men?" "They disappeared before police arrived." Ms. Isabella gave a full statement, but without the men in custody, Brennan shrugged helplessly. "We increased security after that." Ms. Isabella insisted on it. Alessandro stood up, his mind racing. Someone had tried to kidnap his daughter. His 9-year-old daughter. And Isabella, a maid, had fought them off. Why wasn't I notified? Alessandro's voice was deadly quiet. Ms. Isabella said she'd handle it personally. We assumed. You assumed wrong, Alessandro headed for the door. He drove home too fast, his hands shaking on the wheel. A kidnapping attempt. 3 months ago. And Isabella never said a word. He found her in the laundry room, folding towels. "Mr. Romano," she said. "You're home early. Why didn't you tell me someone tried to take my daughter?" Isabella's hands stilled on a towel. She didn't look surprised that he knew. "Who told you?" "The principal. He showed me the security footage, Isabella. I watched you fight off 2 grown men. I did what I had to do." "You did my job." Alessandro's voice rose. "Protecting my daughter is my job, not yours." "Then where were you?" Isabella shot back. "You were in New York that day, meeting with the Gambino family. Should I have called you? Interrupted your business, so you could fly home while Sofia was traumatized." "Yes."
Alessandro roared.
"That's exactly what you should have done." "She needed comfort, not chaos," Isabella said firmly. She needed someone to hold her while she cried, not someone who'd start a war. There should be a war. Someone tried to kidnap her. And I handled it. I increased security at school. I changed our pickup routine. I made sure Sofia knew she was safe. What would you have done differently, besides creating more violence? Alessandro stared at her. "You're a maid. You fold towels and make beds. You're not supposed to." "I'm not supposed to what? Care about her? Protect her? Love her like she's my own." The words hung in the air. "She's not yours," Alessandro said quietly. "No," Isabella agreed. "She's yours. But you weren't there, so I was." Alessandro took a step closer. "Did you identify the men?"
No. They wore masks.
"But I got a partial plate number. I gave it to the police, but they said without more evidence." "The police are useless." Alessandro pulled out his phone. "Forward me everything. Descriptions, plate number, everything you remember." "What are you going to do?" "What I should have done 3 months ago. Find out who tried to take my daughter and make sure they never try again." Isabella grabbed his arm. "Alessandro, Mr. Romano, think about Sofia. If you retaliate and it goes wrong, if something happens to you, she loses her father too. If I do nothing, they'll try again. And next time you might not be there." "So make sure I am," Isabella said. "Hire me as her bodyguard. Make it official. Give me the resources to protect her properly." Alessandro looked at her, really looked at her. This wasn't some timid maid afraid of her employer. This was a woman who'd pepper-sprayed kidnappers and threatened teachers and confronted him without fear. "Who are you?" he asked quietly. "Someone who loves your daughter," Isabella said. "Isn't that enough?" It should have been. But Alessandro was a man who dealt in secrets and lies, and he suddenly realized he knew nothing about the woman who'd been living in his house for 2 years. Nothing except that Sofia trusted her more than anyone in the world. And that terrified him more than any kidnapping attempt ever could. That evening, Alessandro waited until Sofia went to bed. Then he went to Isabella's quarters, a small suite above the garage that he'd never visited before. He knocked.
Hard.
Isabella opened the door in sweatpants and a t-shirt, her hair down for the first time since he'd known her. She looked younger, more vulnerable. "Mr. Romano? Is Sofia?" "Sofia's fine," Alessandro said. "We need to talk."
Now.
Isabella stepped aside, letting him in. The room was small but neat. A bed, a desk, a bookshelf overflowing with titles. Photos on the wall, but none of family. Just landscapes. Sunsets. Empty beaches. "You've been lying to me," Alessandro said, closing the door behind him. "I've never lied to you. You've been hiding things. The kidnapping attempt. The therapy. The school meetings. Every single important thing happening in my daughter's life, you've kept from me." His voice rose with each word. "Why didn't you tell me?" Isabella's jaw tightened. "Do you really want to know, or do you want to yell at me?" "Both." "Fine." Isabella crossed her arms. "I didn't tell you, because you weren't there. Not physically, not emotionally. You were a ghost in that house, Alessandro. A ghost who signed checks and gave orders, but never asked Sofia how her day was. I was building an empire to protect her. She doesn't need an empire. Isabella's voice cracked. She needs a father. She needs someone who knows her favorite color changed from pink to purple last month. Someone who knows she's afraid of thunderstorms because her mother died during one. Someone who notices when she's crying herself to sleep every night. Alessandro felt like he'd been punched. Every night.
Every
Night, Isabella's eyes were fierce. For 6 months after Gabriella died, Sophia cried herself to sleep. And you never heard it because you were in your office, or out at meetings, or too buried in your own grief to see hers. I was grieving too, Alessandro said, his voice rough. I know. But she was a child grieving her mother, and she needed her father. Instead, she got a boss who happened to live in the same house. The words hit harder than any bullet ever had. That's not fair, Alessandro said. Isn't it? Isabella stepped closer. When was the last time you ate dinner with her? Helped with her homework? Asked about her day, and actually listened to the answer? Alessandro opened his mouth.
Closed it.
He couldn't remember. That's what I thought, Isabella said softly. I didn't tell you about the kidnapping attempt because Sophia begged me not to. She said you'd do something scary. She said you'd make it worse. And she was right, wasn't she? Your first instinct was violence. They tried to take my daughter. And I stopped them. I protected her. I held her while she shook. I'm the one who sat with her through 3 hours of police questions. I'm the one who convinced her she was safe. Isabella's voice broke. Because she needed a parent, not a boss. And you weren't there. The silence that followed was deafening. Alessandro felt something crack inside his chest. You think I don't know that? His voice came out hoarse. You think I don't see how she looks at you? How she runs to you instead of me? You think that doesn't kill me every single day? Isabella's expression softened slightly. I lost my wife, Alessandro continued. The only woman I ever loved. And I buried myself in work because if I stopped moving, if I stopped for even 1 second, the grief would swallow me whole. But while I was drowning, my daughter was drowning too. And I didn't see it.
Alessandro.
Don't, he held up a hand. Don't make excuses for me. You're right. About all of it. I failed her. I failed Gabriella. I failed as a father. Isabella was quiet for a moment. You didn't fail completely. Sophia still loves you. She's just lost. And angry. And she doesn't know how to tell you she needs you. So she tells you instead. Yes.
Alessandro laughed bitterly.
A maid is a better parent to my daughter than I am. How's that for irony? I'm not trying to replace you, Isabella said firmly. I never was. I was just filling the gaps until you found your way back. What if I can't find my way back? What if it's too late? It's not too late, Isabella's voice was gentle now. But you have to try. Really try. Not just show up, be present. Listen to her. See her. Let her see you. I don't know how, Alessandro admitted. Every time I look at her, I see Gabriella. And it hurts too much. Sophia said the same thing about you. Alessandro's head snapped up. What? She said when she looks at you, she sees her mother. That you have the same eyes. And it hurts too much to look at you. The revelation hit him like a freight train. His daughter was avoiding him for the same reason he was failing her. They were both trapped in grief, circling each other, both too scared to bridge the gap. We're both broken, Alessandro whispered. Then maybe you can help each other heal, Isabella said. But you have to take the first step. She's 9 years old. You're the adult. Alessandro sat down on the edge of Isabella's desk, suddenly exhausted. How do I do this? How do I become what she needs? Start small. Have breakfast with her tomorrow. Ask about her book. Listen when she talks. Don't try to fix everything. Just be there, Isabella paused. And Alessandro? Thank her for telling you things. Even the hard things. Make her feel safe being honest with you. Like she feels safe with you. Yes. Alessandro looked at this woman who'd somehow become essential to his daughter's life. Why do you care so much?
She's not your child.
This isn't your family. Isabella's expression flickered with something he couldn't read.
Pain, maybe.
Or longing. Everyone deserves someone who fights for them, she said quietly. Sophia deserves 1,000,000 people fighting for her. Right now, she only has 2. So I fight twice as hard. Alessandro stood up slowly.
I'm sorry.
For not seeing what you were doing. For taking you for granted. I don't need your apology, Isabella said. Sophia needs your presence. That's all. He walked to the door, then turned back. Isabella? The kidnapping attempt. I'm going to find out who is behind it. But I'll do it quietly. No war.
No chaos. Just.
Justice. Thank you. Alessandro left, but her words followed him back to the main house, echoing with every step. Because she needed a parent, not a boss. And you weren't there. He'd spent 3 years building walls to protect himself from grief. It was time to tear them down, even if it destroyed him in the process. Alessandro woke up early the next morning, something he hadn't done in years. He went to the kitchen and attempted to make breakfast. Pancakes. Sophia used to love his pancakes. That was before, when Gabriella was alive and weekend mornings meant laughter and flower fights. He burned the first batch. The second batch was too thick. By the third attempt, he had something edible. Sophia came downstairs at 7:30, her backpack already on her shoulders. She froze when she saw him standing at the stove.
Papa?
What are you doing? Making breakfast. Alessandro set a plate in front of her. Pancakes. Your favorite. Sophia stared at the plate like it might explode. Isabella usually makes. I know. But I wanted to make them today. He sat down across from her, his own plate untouched. How did you sleep? Fine. Any dreams?
No.
The conversation died there. Sophia picked at her pancakes, taking tiny bites. Alessandro watched her, trying to remember how this used to be easy. How talking to his daughter used to feel natural instead of like walking through a minefield. So, Alessandro tried again. What book are you reading? Isabella mentioned you liked it. Sophia's head snapped up. She told you about my book? She said you were excited about it. Something closed off in Sophia's expression. It's just a book. What's it about? Stuff. Sophia. I have to go. I'll be late for school. She stood up, leaving half the pancakes on her plate. School doesn't start for an hour, Alessandro said. I have early study group. Sophia headed for the door. Wait, Alessandro stood up. Let me drive you. Isabella drives me. I know, but I thought today. Isabella. Sophia called out, her voice bordering on desperate. Are you ready? Isabella appeared from the hallway, her purse already in hand. Her eyes met Alessandro's, and he saw pity there. Pity for him. I'm ready, sweet girl, Isabella said gently. Then to Alessandro. We have to leave early today. Science project presentations. Alessandro watched his daughter run to Isabella's side like she was a life raft. Like he was the storm she needed to escape. Right, Alessandro said, his voice hollow. The science project. Sophia didn't look back as they left. Alessandro sat alone at the kitchen table, staring at the untouched pancakes. He'd failed. Again. He tried again at dinner. He came home at 6, canceled his evening meeting, and sat at the dining room table waiting. Sophia came down, saw him, and her face fell. I already ate with Isabella, she said. We had mac and cheese in the kitchen. You could eat again. Keep me company. I have homework. I could help. Isabella's helping me. Sophia turned to leave. Sophia, wait. Please, the desperation in his voice made her stop. Just 5 minutes. Talk to me. Sophia's shoulders tensed. About what? Anything. Your day. Your friends. The book you're reading. I don't have friends, remember? Sophia's voice was bitter. They all think I'm murder girl.
Alessandro flinched.
What about the book then? It's about a girl whose parents die and she has to live with her uncle who doesn't want her. It's sad. Sophia's eyes met his. Kind of like real life. The words hit like a slap. Sophia, I want you. I've always wanted you. Then why does it feel like you don't? Sophia's voice cracked. Why do I only see you at breakfast if Isabella makes you come? Why do you never ask about my day unless she reminds you? Why does everything about us have to go through her first? That's going to change. You keep saying that. Sophia's eyes filled with tears. But it won't. Because you can't look at me without seeing Mama. And I can't look at you without missing her so much it hurts. So maybe it's better if we just
Don't.
She ran upstairs, and Alessandro heard her door slam. He sat in the empty dining room, his daughter's words echoing in the silence. Maybe it's better if we just don't. That night, the council met in Alessandro's study. 5 men who'd served the Romano family for decades. Marcus, his consigliere, poured the whiskey while the others took their seats. The Corsetti family is getting impatient, Marcus said. You missed 2 meetings this week. Family emergency, Alessandro repeated. Alessandro Frank Moretti, the eldest of the council, leaned forward.
We need to talk about the maid.
Alessandro's hand tightened around his glass. Her name is Isabella. We know her name, Frank said. What we don't know is why you're suddenly spending so much time worrying about her. I'm not. You asked for background checks on her, Marcus interrupted. Deep ones. The kind we run on potential threats. Alessandro didn't deny it. Someone tried to kidnap Sofia. Isabella was there. I need to know who she is. That's not all this is, Frank said. The men are talking. They see you watching her. They see how your daughter clings to her. They see weakness. Caring about my daughter is not weakness. Letting a servant become this important is, Frank snapped. She's a maid, Alessandro. Not family. Not one of us. If you start blurring those lines, if people think you're getting soft over a woman. She saved Sofia's life. And you paid her well for it, I'm sure. But that's where it ends, Frank stood up. Your father would never have allowed this. A boss doesn't get attached to the help. It makes you vulnerable. It makes people think they can use her against you. They already tried, Alessandro said quietly. The kidnapping attempt. They were testing security, looking for weaknesses. And Isabella is the one who stopped them. Which proves my point, Frank said. She's a target now. Anyone who wants to hurt you will go through her. And if you care about her, if you're stupid enough to let people see you care, they'll use that. I don't care about her, Alessandro lied. I care about Sofia. And Sofia needs her. Sofia needs her father, Marcus said softly. Not a substitute. The truth of it burned. I'm trying, Alessandro said. I tried this morning. I tried tonight. She runs from me every time. To Isabella. Always to Isabella. Then fire the maid, Frank said bluntly. Force Sofia to depend on you. No, Alessandro's voice was hard. Isabella stays. Then you're a fool, Frank said. Mark my words, Alessandro. This attachment to the woman or, through your daughter, will be your downfall. Enemies smell weakness like blood in water. The council left, but their warning lingered. Alessandro went to the window and looked out at the garage apartments. Isabella's light was on. He could see her shadow moving behind the curtains. Frank was right. Getting close to Isabella was dangerous. Letting Sofia depend on her was dangerous. But cutting her out would destroy what little connection he had left to his daughter. Alessandro poured another drink and made a decision. He'd rather be vulnerable with Sofia in his life than safe and alone without her. Even if it killed him. The whispers started at Caruso's, a restaurant in Little Italy where deals were made and information was traded like currency. Tony Corsetti sat in a corner booth, listening to his nephew Enzo talk. Enzo was young, ambitious, and hungry to prove himself. I'm telling you, Uncle, Enzo said, leaning forward. Romano's weak right now. His kid's a mess, and he's distracted. Alessandro Romano doesn't get distracted, Tony said, cutting into a steak. He canceled 3 meetings this month. Frank Moretti says he's obsessed with his daughter's problems. And get this, the kid trusts the maid more than her own father. Tony's fork paused halfway to his mouth. The maid,
Isabella Cruz.
been working for him 2 years. Apparently, She's the one raising the kid while Romano plays gangster, Enzo grinned. Word is, you hurt the maid. You hurt the daughter. You hurt the daughter. You break Romano. Tony set down his fork. Where'd you hear this? One of Romano's guards. Guy likes to drink at McGinty's. Says Romano's got it bad. Checks on the maid's quarters every night. Asks about her constantly. The whole house sees it. Tony sat back, thinking. Alessandro Romano had been a thorn in the Corsetti family's side for 5 years. Ever since Alessandro took over the South Side territories, profits had dried up. Romano was smart, ruthless, and seemingly untouchable. But everyone had a weakness. Find out everything about this maid, Tony said. Where she came from, who she worked for before. Everything. Already did. Enzo slid a folder across the table. You're going to love this. Tony opened it. Inside were photos of Isabella, background information, and one name that made him smile. Well, Tony said softly. Isn't this interesting? 3 days later, Alessandro was in his office when Marcus burst through the door without knocking. We have a problem, Marcus said, his face pale. Alessandro looked up from the contracts he was reviewing. What kind of problem? The Corsettis know about Isabella. Alessandro's blood went cold. Know what? Everything. That Sofia trusts her. That you've been investigating the kidnapping attempt. That Isabella fought off the attackers. Marcus threw a manila envelope on the desk. This was delivered to our gate an hour ago. Alessandro opened it. Inside were photos. Isabella with Sofia at the ice cream shop. Isabella at the school. Isabella in the driveway. Someone had been watching her. The note was simple. We know where she goes. We know what she means to you. Back off the South Side, or she disappears. Alessandro crumpled the note in his fist. When? The photos are from the last 2 weeks. They've been surveilling her. Marcus ran a hand through his hair. Alessandro, there's more. We got the background check results on Isabella. And she didn't come from an agency, like she claimed. She came from New York. She worked for the Marconi family for 3 years before coming here. Alessandro felt the world tilt. The Marconi family, one of the 5 families, allied with the Corsettis. She worked for the Marconis? Alessandro's voice was deadly quiet. As a housekeeper. But here's the thing. She disappeared from their employment suddenly. No notice. No forwarding address. Just vanished. Marcus leaned on the desk. Alessandro, what if she's a plant? What if the Corsettis sent her here 2 years ago to get close to Sofia? No, Alessandro shook his head. She saved Sofia from kidnappers. She's been protecting her. Or she's been earning your trust. Building up to something bigger, Marcus pulled out another photo. This is her with Vincent Marconi Jr. taken 4 years ago. The photo showed Isabella standing next to a young man in an expensive suit. They weren't touching, but the body language suggested familiarity. Who is he to her? Alessandro asked. We don't know. But Vincent Jr. is Tony Corsetti's nephew-in-law. The families are connected through marriage. Marcus met Alessandro's eyes. If Isabella has ties to both families, she could be the leak. She could be the reason they knew exactly when and where to attempt the kidnapping. Maybe it was a test to see how you'd react, to see if she could save Sofia and become indispensable. Alessandro wanted to argue, but the timeline made sickening sense. Isabella appeared 2 years ago.
No references.
No background. Just a sad story about needing work and a letter of recommendation that Alessandro never bothered to verify. He'd been a fool. Bring her to me, Alessandro said.
Now.
10 minutes later, Isabella stood in his office, confusion on her face. Mr. Romano? Marcus said it was urgent. Alessandro slid the photo across the desk. Who is Vincent Marconi Jr. to you? Isabella's face went white. Where did you get that? Answer the question. Alessandro. I can explain. Did the Marconis send you here? Alessandro's voice was ice. Did the Corsettis? Was any of it real? Or have you been playing me this whole time?
No.
I left New York to get away from them. Why should I believe you? Alessandro stood up, his hands flat on the desk. You lied about your background. You lied about your references. For all I know, you set up the kidnapping attempt yourself. You think I would hurt Sophia? Isabella's eyes filled with tears. After everything. I don't know what to think. Alessandro roared. My daughter is in danger because of you. The Corsettis are threatening to take you because they know. He stopped himself. They know what? Isabella whispered. They know she matters to you. That you're a weakness I can't afford. Isabella stepped back like he'd struck her. A weakness? That's what you think I am. You're a liability, Alessandro said, hating every word. And until I know the truth about who you really are, you're not going near my daughter. Alessandro, please. It's Mr. Romano. And you're suspended. Marcus will escort you to your quarters. You're not to leave without permission. You're not to contact Sophia. Is that clear? Isabella's face crumpled. You're making a mistake. The mistake was trusting you. Alessandro turned away, unable to look at her. Get out. Marcus took Isabella's arm gently and led her from the office. Alessandro waited until the door closed before sinking into his chair. His hands were shaking. What if Marcus was right? What if Isabella had been a plant all along? But then he remembered Sophia's face. The way she smiled at Isabella. The way she'd stopped crying herself to sleep. If Isabella was fake, if those 2 years of care and protection were all an act, then Alessandro had no idea who to trust anymore. His phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. Smart move, Romano. Now we can talk business. Midnight. The docks. Come alone, or the maid pays for it. Alessandro stared at the message. The Corsettis had just declared war. And Isabella, whether innocent or guilty, was caught in the crossfire. Alessandro sat in his car outside the docks at 11:45 p.m., watching the dark water lap against the pier. The Corsetti meeting was a trap, he knew that much. But if he didn't show, they'd go after Isabella. If she was innocent. His phone rang. Marcus. Don't go in there, Marcus said. I've got 3 snipers positioned on the warehouse roofs. This is a setup. I know. Then why are you still sitting there? Alessandro didn't answer. He was about to tell Marcus to pull back when another call came through. The house line. His blood went cold. I have to go, Alessandro said, switching calls. Hello. Papa. Sophia's scream pierced through the phone.
Papa, help.
There are men. Gunshots. Then the line went dead. Alessandro was already moving, tires squealing as he spun the car around. He called Marcus back. Get every man to the house.
Now.
What's happening? They're not after me. They're after Sophia. The drive took 8 minutes. It felt like 8 hours. Isabella had been packing when she heard the glass shatter downstairs. She'd been crying, throwing clothes into a suitcase, trying to figure out where she'd go after Alessandro fired her in the morning. Then came the sound of Sophia screaming. Isabella didn't think. She grabbed the baseball bat from her closet, something Alessandro's guards had laughed at when they saw it, and ran. She made it to the main house through the connecting hallway just as 3 men in masks reached the top of the stairs. Sophia's bedroom door was locked, and the little girl was screaming inside. Get away from that door, Isabella shouted. The men turned. One of them laughed. The maid, he said. Corsetti told us you might be a problem. You have no idea, Isabella said and swung the bat. She caught the first man in the knee. He went down howling. The second man pulled a gun, but Isabella was faster. She'd learned to be fast in New York, where being slow meant being dead. She knocked the gun from his hand and brought the bat across his ribs. The third man grabbed her from behind, his arm around her throat. Nice try, sweetheart, he hissed in her ear.
Sophia's door flew open.
The little girl stood there, frozen in terror. Run, Sophia. Isabella choked out. Run to your father's office and lock. The man threw Isabella against the wall. Her head cracked against the corner of a picture frame, and she tasted blood. Sophia screamed and ran, but not toward the office. She ran toward Isabella. No. Isabella gasped. Sophia, go. But Sophia wouldn't leave her. The 9-year-old grabbed Isabella's hand, trying to pull her up. The three men surrounded them. The one Isabella had hit with the bat stood up, limping, his face twisted with rage. That, he said, was a mistake. He raised his gun, pointing it at Isabella's head. Sophia threw herself in front of Isabella. Don't hurt her. Sophia, no. Isabella tried to push her aside. The man's finger moved toward the trigger. Then the window exploded. Alessandro came through it like an avenging angel, gun drawn, his suit jacket torn. He fired 3 times before his feet even hit the ground. The first man dropped. The second dove behind a dresser. The third grabbed Sophia, using her as a shield. Drop it, Romano. The man shouted, pressing his gun to Sophia's temple. Drop it, or the kid dies. Alessandro froze. His gun was still aimed, but his hands were shaking. Sophia was crying, her eyes wide with terror. Let her go, Alessandro said, his voice deadly calm. Let her go, and I'll let you walk out of here. You think I'm stupid? The second I let her go, you'll... Isabella moved. Despite the blood running down her face, despite the pain screaming through her body, she lunged forward and grabbed the man's gun hand, yanking it away from Sophia's head. The gun went off. The bullet shattered a mirror. Alessandro fired. The man dropped. For a moment, everything was still. Then Sophia collapsed to the floor, sobbing. Alessandro ran forward, dropping his gun, reaching for his daughter. Sophia, baby, are you hurt? Look at me.
Are you?
But Sophia scrambled past him. She threw herself into Isabella's arms, burying her face in Isabella's shoulder. I've got you, Isabella whispered, holding Sophia tight, even though her hands were shaking. You're safe. You're safe now. Alessandro stood there, his arms still outstretched, watching his daughter cling to Isabella like she was the only solid thing in the world. More men poured into the hallway. Alessandro's guards, too late to help. Marcus was shouting orders, checking the bodies, securing the scene. Get a doctor, Alessandro said quietly. Isabella's hurt. I'm fine, Isabella said, but her voice was weak. You're bleeding, Alessandro said. He moved closer, reaching out. Let me. Sophia turned to look at him, her face streaked with tears. You left us. Alessandro felt like he'd been shot. What? You left us alone. You went to your meeting, and they came, and you weren't here. Sophia's voice broke. Isabella saved me.
Not you.
Isabella. Sophia, I came as fast as I could. She's always the one who saves me, Sophia sobbed. You're always gone. Alessandro looked at Isabella and saw something in her eyes. Not triumph. Not satisfaction at being chosen over him. Just exhaustion.
And sadness.
Take Sophia to her room, Alessandro said to Marcus. Postguards at every door and window.
No.
Sophia clung tighter to Isabella. I want to stay with Isabella. You can stay with her, Alessandro said. But in your room, where it's safe. Both of you. Marcus helped Isabella stand. She was unsteady on her feet, blood still trickling from the cut on her head. Sophia held one of her hands, refusing to let go. They walked past Alessandro like he was a ghost. He stood alone in the hallway, surrounded by dead bodies and broken glass, and realized the Corsettis had won without killing anyone. They'd shown him exactly what he already knew. He'd lost his daughter long before tonight. And the one person who could bring her back didn't trust him anymore either. Alessandro picked up his gun and went to secure the perimeter. It was all he knew how to do. The doctor stitched up Isabella's head wound in Sophia's bedroom while the little girl sat pressed against her side, refusing to move. 5 stitches, Dr. Chen said, snipping the thread. You'll have a headache for a few days. No heavy lifting. And someone should check on you every few hours in case of concussion. I'll be fine, Isabella said. I'll check on her, Sophia said immediately. I'm not leaving her. Alessandro stood in the doorway, watching. He'd stationed 4 guards outside Sophia's room, 2 more at the end of the hallway. The house was locked down like a fortress. But his daughter only had eyes for Isabella. "Sophia, you need to sleep in your own bed tonight," Alessandro said gently. "No, sweetheart. I said no." Sophia's voice rose. "What if they come back? What if they get past the guards? Isabella's the only one who can protect me." Alessandro tried not to let the words sting. "I'll protect you. I'll sleep right outside your door." "You weren't here before," Sophia said, her voice small. "You're never here when I need you." Alessandro had no answer to that. Dr. Chen packed up his bag, sensing the tension. "I'll check on Isabella in the morning. Call me if anything changes." After he left, Alessandro tried again. "Sophia, Isabella needs rest. She's hurt. You staying with her all night won't help her heal." "I need her more than she needs rest," Sophia said stubbornly. Isabella finally spoke, her voice soft. "It's okay, Mr. Romano. She can stay. You need sleep." "I need her to feel safe." Isabella met his eyes. "We both do." Alessandro wanted to argue, wanted to insist that he could make Sophia feel safe. But the truth was written all over his daughter's face. She didn't believe he could. "Fine," Alessandro said. "But I'm stationing a guard inside the room." "No guards," Sophia said. "Just Isabella and me." "Sophia." "Please, Papa." It was the first time she'd called him that all night. "No strangers in my room. Just her." Alessandro looked at Isabella, silently asking for help. But Isabella just pulled Sophia closer, her expression apologetic but firm. "I'll keep her safe," Isabella said quietly. Alessandro left them there, closing the door behind him. He posted guards in the hallway and went to his office, but he couldn't focus on anything. The paperwork blurred. The security reports made no sense. All he could think about was his daughter, choosing someone else over him. Again. For the next 3 days, Isabella didn't leave Sophia's side. She ate meals with her in the bedroom, helped her with homework at the small desk by the window, read to her before bed, slept in the chair next to Sophia's bed because the girl couldn't sleep unless Isabella was in the room. Alessandro watched from doorways and hallways, an outsider to his own daughter's life. He saw Isabella teaching Sophia to play chess, their heads bent together over the board. He saw Isabella braiding Sophia's hair, both of them laughing at something on Isabella's phone. He saw Isabella holding Sophia during a thunderstorm, whispering reassurances while his daughter trembled. Every moment drove home what he'd been missing, what he'd lost. On the 4th night, Alessandro stood outside Sophia's door at midnight. He could hear voices inside, soft, gentle voices. "Will you always stay with me?" Sophia asked. "As long as you need me," Isabella replied. "What if Papa sends you away? He said you were a liability." "I heard him." Alessandro's heart clenched. "Your father was scared," Isabella said carefully. "He was trying to protect you by hurting you." Sometimes adults make mistakes when they're afraid, just like kids do. "I'm not afraid when I'm with you," Sophia whispered. "I know, sweet girl." There was a long pause. Then Sophia spoke again, her voice trembling. "Isabella, do you think Mama would be mad that I love you?" Alessandro stopped breathing. "Oh, Sophia," Isabella's voice cracked. "Your mama would want you to be happy, to feel safe, to have people who love you. She'd never be mad about that. Do you love me?" "So much," Isabella whispered. So much." Alessandro heard his daughter start crying, not the scared crying from before, but the kind of crying that came from releasing something long held inside. "I miss her," Sophia sobbed. "I miss Mama every day." "I know you do. And Papa misses her too, but he won't talk about it. He just gets quiet and goes away. And then I'm alone, and I miss them both." Alessandro pressed his hand against the doorframe, fighting to stay silent. "You're not alone," Isabella said. "You'll never be alone. I promise." Alessandro couldn't listen anymore. He walked away, his chest tight, his eyes burning. He went to his office and pulled out the photo of Gabriella that he kept in his desk drawer. The one he hadn't been able to look at for 3 years. "I'm failing her," he whispered to the picture. "Our daughter. She's right here, and I'm failing her every single day." Gabriella smiled back at him, frozen in a moment of happiness that felt like another lifetime. Alessandro traced her face with his finger and realized something that terrified him. He was starting to see Isabella the same way he'd once looked at Gabriella. Not just as Sophia's protector. Not just as someone competent and caring. As a woman. As someone he wanted to be near. Someone whose strength called to something broken inside him. He'd been watching Isabella for days now. The gentle way she touched Sophia's hair, the fierce way she'd fought off attackers, the quiet way she'd taken Alessandro's anger and accusations without crumbling. She was everything he wasn't. Patient.
Present. Whole.
And he was falling for her. The realization hit him like a freight train. He was falling in love with his daughter's nanny. With a woman who might be connected to his enemies. With someone who represented everything the Mafia code forbade. Frank had been right. Getting close to Isabella was dangerous. But as Alessandro sat there in the dark, thinking about how Isabella had thrown herself between Sophia and a gun, how she'd stayed even after he'd accused her, how she loved his daughter like her own, he realized something else. He was already too close to turn back. And that terrified him more than any rival family ever could. A week after the attack, Sophia finally agreed to sleep in her own bed, as long as Isabella stayed in the room. Alessandro found them one morning in the breakfast nook. Sophia was eating cereal while Isabella helped her with a history worksheet. Sunlight streamed through the window, catching the dark strands of Isabella's hair, making her look almost ethereal. Alessandro's chest tightened. "Papa." Sophia looked up, surprised. "You're home." "I live here," Alessandro said with a small smile. "Can I join you?" Sophia hesitated, then nodded. Alessandro sat down across from them, and for the first time in weeks, they ate breakfast together. It was stilted and awkward, but Sophia didn't run away. Progress. Isabella gathered the dishes when they finished. Alessandro watched her move around the kitchen, efficient, graceful. Their eyes met for just a moment, and something passed between them. Something neither of them could name. "Thank you," Alessandro said quietly, "for staying with her." "She needs someone," Isabella replied, looking away quickly. "I'm glad I could be here." "You're more than someone," Alessandro said before he could stop himself. "You're." Sophia came running back in. "Isabella, can we go to the library today? You said we could check out new books." The moment shattered. "Of course," Isabella said, her voice a little breathless. "Go get your shoes on." Sophia ran off. Isabella started to follow, but Alessandro caught her arm gently. "Isabella, wait. We need to talk about what happened. About what I said before the attack. I was wrong to accuse you, Mr. Romano." "Alessandro," he corrected. "Please." Isabella pulled her arm back slowly. "I should explain about Vincent Marconi. About New York." "You don't owe me explanations." "Yes, I do." Isabella leaned against the counter, her arms crossed defensively. "Vincent was engaged to my younger sister, Lucia. I worked for his family to be close to her, to protect her. But Vincent was violent, controlling. When Lucia tried to break off the engagement, he beat her. Put her in the hospital." Alessandro's hands curled into fists. "I helped her escape," Isabella continued. "We ran. Changed our names. But Vincent's family blamed me for stealing Lucia away. They put a price on my head. That's why I came to Chicago. Why I lied on my application. I was hiding." "Where's your sister now?" "Safe. In California under a new identity. We don't talk. It's safer that way." Isabella's eyes met his. "But I swear to you, Alessandro, I would never hurt Sophia. She's become everything to me. I'd die before I let anyone touch her." "I know," Alessandro said softly. "I saw that when you threw yourself in front of that gun." They stood there, the kitchen suddenly feeling too small, too intimate. I should go, Isabella whispered. Sophia's waiting. But she didn't move. Neither did he. Alessandro took a step closer. Isabella. Don't, she said, but her voice was weak. Please don't. Don't what? Whatever you're about to say. Don't say it. Isabella's eyes were pleading. This can't happen. What can't happen? This, she gestured between them. Whatever this is. You're my employer. I'm the help. You're a mafia boss.
I'm nobody.
You're not nobody, Alessandro said fiercely. To your world, I am. To your men, I am. Isabella stepped back. I see how they look at me, Alessandro. Like I'm a threat. Like I'm something that needs to be eliminated. And they're right. They're wrong. Sophia's ready, the little girl called from the hallway. Isabella rushed past Alessandro without looking back. That evening, the council met again. Alessandro tried to focus on the discussion about territory disputes and shipment schedules, but his mind kept drifting. To the way Isabella said his name, to the look in her eyes before Sophia interrupted, to the feeling that he was standing on the edge of something that could either save him or destroy him.
Alessandro.
Frank's sharp voice cut through his thoughts. Are you listening? Of course. Then what did I just say? Alessandro had no idea. Frank exchanged glances with Marcus. This is exactly what we're talking about. You're distracted, unfocused. The Corsettis are still out there, planning their next move, and you're thinking about that woman. Her name is Isabella, Alessandro said coldly. We don't care about her name, Frank snapped. We care that you're compromised. The men are talking, Alessandro. They see how you look at her, how you follow her around like a lost puppy. It's embarrassing. Watch your tone. No. You watch yours, Frank stood up. You want to know what they're saying? They're saying Alessandro Romano's gone soft. That the great boss is pussy-whipped by a maid. That you'd choose her over the family. Alessandro shot to his feet. That's enough. Is it true? Marcus asked quietly. Would you choose her? The question hung in the air. Alessandro thought about Sophia's laughter when Isabella was near. About the way Isabella had fought off 3 armed men without hesitation. About the way his heart raced when she walked into a room. It doesn't matter what I'd choose, Alessandro said finally. Because nothing's happening between us. Good, Frank said. Because if it did, the family would see it as weakness. The old laws are clear. Bosses don't marry beneath them. They don't romance the help. They don't blur those lines. I'm not my father, Alessandro said. I don't give a damn about the old laws. Then you're a fool, Frank said. Those laws exist for a reason. To maintain order, respect, power. The moment you break them, you invite chaos. The laws are outdated. The laws keep us alive. Frank's voice rose. You think the Corsettis won't use this against you? You think they won't spread word that Alessandro Romano's so desperate for a woman he's chasing his own maid? You'll be laughed out of every room in Chicago. Get out, Alessandro said quietly. All of you.
Alessandro.
Out. The men filed out, shaking their heads. Only Marcus lingered at the door. She's special, isn't she? Marcus said softly. Isabella. Alessandro didn't answer. Your father once told me something, Marcus continued. He said loving someone in this life is the most dangerous thing you can do. Because love makes you vulnerable. And vulnerability gets you killed. Why are you telling me this? Because I see the way you look at her. Like she's air, and you're drowning. And I'm afraid that look is going to get one of you buried. Marcus left, closing the door behind him. Alessandro stood alone in his office, his father's words echoing in his mind. Love makes you vulnerable. He'd loved Gabriella, and cancer took her anyway. Now he was falling for Isabella, and his own world was threatening to tear her apart. Maybe Marcus was right. Maybe loving anyone in this life was a death sentence. But when Alessandro closed his eyes, all he could see was Isabella's face. And he knew it was already too late to stop. The betrayal came from within, as it always did. Tommy Ricci had been with the Romano family for 12 years. He'd worked his way up from a street soldier to Alessandro's third lieutenant. He was loyal, efficient, and ruthless when needed. He was also deeply resentful. Tommy watched Alessandro transform over the past few weeks, saw the boss checking his watch during meetings, rushing home for dinner, smiling at his phone when a text came through. All because of a woman. A maid. It made Tommy sick. He'd given 12 years to this family. 12 years of blood, sweat, and bodies buried in the river. And what did he have to show for it? A modest house in the suburbs and Alessandro's distracted half-attention during council meetings. Meanwhile, Isabella Cruz, a nobody, a servant, had the boss wrapped around her finger without even trying. The final straw came when Tommy overheard Alessandro talking to Marcus. "I'm thinking of making changes," Alessandro had said. "Stepping back from some operations. Spending more time with Sofia. With my family." "That's good," Marcus replied. "You've been absent too long. I need to be present. For Sofia." For Alessandro had trailed off, but the implication was clear. For Isabella. Tommy made his decision that night. If Alessandro wouldn't put the family first, then someone else needed to take control. And the fastest way to do that was to remove the distraction. He called Tony Corsetti from a burner phone. "I have information," Tommy said, "about Isabella Cruz. When she'll be vulnerable." 3 days later, Isabella took Sofia to the craft store. It was a small trip, just picking up supplies for a school project. Alessandro had wanted to send guards, but Isabella insisted they'd be fine. "It's broad daylight," she'd said. "We'll be gone an hour. Sofia needs to feel normal, not like a prisoner." Alessandro had reluctantly agreed, making Isabella promise to stay on main roads and text him every 30 minutes. She'd kept her promise. Until she didn't. The text was supposed to come at 2:30. By 2:45, Alessandro was calling her phone. It went straight to voicemail. By 3 o'clock, Alessandro was in his car with Marcus and 4 armed men, his heart pounding. "Where's the last location her phone pinged?"
Alessandro barked.
Marcus checked his tablet. "Parking lot behind the craft store. But the phone's off now." Alessandro drove like a demon, running red lights, his gun already in his lap. They found Isabella's car in the parking lot, doors open, Sofia's backpack on the ground. Blood on the concrete. Alessandro's world stopped. "Spread out," Marcus shouted to the men. "Find them." Alessandro was already moving, following the blood trail into the alley behind the building. He heard it before he saw it. The sound of fighting, Sofia screaming, Isabella shouting. He rounded the corner and saw them. 4 men had Isabella backed against a dumpster. Sofia was behind her, clutching Isabella's jacket. Isabella's lip was split, her knuckles bloody. 1 man was on the ground, clutching his groin. Another had a broken nose. But they kept coming. "Should have made this easy," one of the men growled. "Corsetti just wants the girl. We don't have to hurt you." "You'll have to kill me first," Isabella spat. "That can be arranged." The man raised his gun.
Alessandro fired.
The man dropped. The other 3 spun around, shocked. Alessandro kept firing, walking forward like death itself. Marcus and the others poured into the alley, guns blazing. It was over in seconds. Sofia ran to Alessandro, crying,
"Papa."
"Papa, they tried to take me." Alessandro holstered his gun and pulled his daughter into his arms, his hands shaking. "You're safe. I've got you." He looked at Isabella over Sofia's head. She was leaning against the dumpster, breathing hard, blood dripping from her mouth. "Are you hurt?" Alessandro asked. "I'm fine. They didn't get her." Isabella's voice was fierce despite the pain. "They didn't get her." Marcus was on the phone, barking orders, when something caught his attention. He bent down and picked up a phone from one of the dead men's pockets. The screen was still lit. "Alessandro," Marcus said slowly. "You need to see this." Alessandro passed Sofia to Isabella and took the phone. The last text message was time-stamped 30 minutes ago. They're leaving the store now. Black sedan. Alone except for the girl. The message was sent to this phone. From Tommy Ricci. Alessandro's blood turned to ice. Get Tommy.
Now.
20 minutes later, Tommy was dragged into Alessandro's warehouse by 3 soldiers. He was confused at first, then terrified when he saw Alessandro's face. Boss, what's going on? I came as soon as. Alessandro threw the phone at Tommy's feet. You want to explain that? Tommy looked at the phone. The color drained from his face. I can explain. You sold out my daughter. Alessandro's voice was quiet.
Deadly.
You told the Corsettis where to find her. Boss, no, I would never. Don't lie to me.
Alessandro roared.
He pulled his gun and pressed it to Tommy's forehead. You've been leaking information. You set up Isabella. You try to get Sofia kidnapped.
Why?
Tommy's mask fell away. Because you're weak, he spat. You're so obsessed with that whore and your brat that you've forgotten what matters. The family. The business. You're not fit to lead anymore. The warehouse went silent. Alessandro stared at this man he'd trusted. This man he'd promoted. This man who'd just called his daughter a brat and Isabella a whore. You're right about one thing, Alessandro said softly. I have been weak. I've been tolerating snakes in my house. He pulled the trigger. Tommy's body hit the floor. Alessandro turned to face his men, 20 soldiers who'd gathered in the warehouse, their faces shocked. Let me be clear, Alessandro said, his voice carrying through the space. My daughter is not a distraction. She is the reason for everything we do. This family exists to protect family, blood, and chosen. Anyone who threatens Sofia, anyone who threatens Isabella, anyone who questions my priorities, this is what happens. He gestured to Tommy's body. Loyalty isn't blind obedience. It's protecting what matters. And if you can't understand that, if you think caring about my daughter makes me weak, there's the door. Leave now and you'll live. Stay, and you swear to protect them both. Choose. No one moved toward the door. One by one, his men nodded. Good, Alessandro said. Clean this up. And find out who else Tommy was talking to. If there are more traitors, I want them found. He walked out of the warehouse, his hands still steady, even though inside, he was shaking. He'd just killed one of his own men. Broken one of the cardinal rules. You didn't execute family without a trial. But Tommy had threatened Sofia, had sold out Isabella. And Alessandro would burn his entire empire to the ground before he let anyone hurt them. Frank had been wrong about one thing. Love didn't make Alessandro weak. It made him absolutely ruthless. The Corsetti family didn't wait long to retaliate. 2 days after Tommy's execution, Alessandro's security system detected movement on the property perimeter. 7 cars. 30 men, maybe more. They're coming in hot, Marcus said, watching the monitors. Front gate, east wall, and they're cutting through the back fence. Alessandro was already moving. Get Sofia and Isabella to the safe room.
Now.
But when Marcus ran upstairs, Sofia's room was empty. The window was open, curtains blowing in the night breeze.
Alessandro.
Marcus shouted. They're gone. Alessandro's heart stopped. He ran to the window and looked out. In the garden below, he could see Isabella running with Sofia, heading toward the hedge maze. They must have seen the cars coming and tried to escape. Smart, but not smart enough. Alessandro watched in horror as 4 men emerged from the shadows, cutting off their escape route. Isabella spun around, pushing Sofia behind her, searching for another way out. They were trapped. Every man outside.
Now. Alessandro roared.
He grabbed his rifle and ran for the stairs, Marcus and 6 soldiers behind him. They burst through the back doors just as the first wave of Corsetti men breached the grounds. Gunfire erupted. Alessandro moved through the chaos like a machine, taking down anyone who got between him and his daughter.
2 men fell. 3.
He didn't count, just kept moving forward. In the garden, Isabella was dragging Sofia toward the greenhouse, but more men were closing in. She had no weapon, no way to fight back. Papa! Sophia's scream cut through the gunfire. Alessandro ran faster, but he was too far away. Too far to reach them before. One of the Corsetti men grabbed Isabella's arm, yanking her back. Another reached for Sofia. Isabella fought like a wildcat. She kicked, bit, clawed. She got one hand free and raked her nails across a man's face, drawing blood. But there were too many of them. Let her go. Sofia was crying, pulling at the man's jacket. Boss wants the kid alive, one man said. But nobody said nothing about the maid. He raised his gun, pointing it at Isabella's head. Alessandro fired. The man dropped. But the distraction cost him. Another attacker came from the side, tackling Alessandro to the ground. They rolled across the grass, fighting for the gun. In the garden, more Corsetti men surrounded Isabella and Sofia. Isabella managed to break free, grabbing Sofia and running toward the pool house. But they were hurting her, pushing her exactly where they wanted her to go. Into a trap. Tony Corsetti himself stepped out from behind the pool house, flanked by 8 armed men. He was smiling. Isabella Cruz, Tony said. You've caused me a lot of trouble. Let the girl go, Isabella said, her voice steady despite the fear in her eyes. This is between you and Alessandro. She's innocent. Nobody's innocent in this world, sweetheart. Tony gestured to his men.
Take the kid.
Kill the maid. No, Sofia screamed. Everything happened at once. Isabella shoved Sofia hard, sending the girl sprawling away from the gunman. Marcus appeared from the side, providing cover fire. Alessandro broke free from his attacker and sprinted toward the pool house. But he was too slow. Too far away. Tony Corsetti pulled his own gun and aimed it at Sofia, who was scrambling to her feet. If I can't have her, Romano, Tony shouted. Nobody can. His fingers squeezed the trigger. Isabella didn't hesitate. She threw herself in front of Sofia, her arms spread wide. The gunshot echoed across the garden. Isabella jerked backward, her eyes going wide with shock. A red stain bloomed across her chest. Isabella, Sofia screamed. Time seemed to slow. Alessandro watched Isabella fall, watched her hit the ground with Sofia crying over her, watched the light start to fade from her eyes. Something inside him broke. Something dark and primal and absolutely murderous took over. Alessandro didn't remember crossing the distance. Didn't remember firing his weapon again and again. He just remembered Tony Corsetti's shocked face as Alessandro shot him, not once, not twice, but emptied the entire magazine into him. Then he was moving to the next man, and the next, and the next. Marcus and the other soldiers joined in, but it was Alessandro's fury that drove the attack. He showed no mercy, asked for no surrender. Every man who'd been part of this assault, every person who'd threatened his daughter, every soldier who'd aimed a gun at Isabella, they all went down. The Corsetti family had come with 30 men. None of them left alive. When the gunfire finally stopped, Alessandro's hands were shaking. Blood covered his suit, some his, most not. Bodies littered the garden like fallen leaves. But he didn't care about any of that. He ran to where Isabella lay in Sofia's arms. No, no, no. Alessandro dropped to his knees beside them. Isabella, stay with me. Stay with me. Isabella's eyes fluttered open. Blood trickled from the corner of her mouth. Sofia. Is she? I'm here. Sofia sobbed, clutching Isabella's hand. I'm here, please don't go. Ambulance is coming, Marcus said, his phone to his ear. 3 minutes out. She doesn't have 3 minutes. Alessandro pressed his hands over the wound, trying to stop the bleeding. Isabella, listen to me. You don't get to do this. You don't get to leave us. We need you. Sofia needs you. I need you. Isabella's lips curved into the faintest smile. You'll be okay. No, we won't. Sofia cried. Please, Isabella, please stay. Love you. Both Isabella's eyes started to close. Don't you dare, Alessandro said fiercely. Don't you dare close your eyes. That's an order, Isabella. I'm still your boss, and you don't get to die on me. Open your eyes. Sirens wailed in the distance. Isabella's hand went limp in Sophia's grasp. Alessandro pressed harder on the wound, his hands slick with blood, refusing to accept what was happening. Come on, he whispered. Come on, Isabella.
Fight.
Please fight. The ambulance screamed through the gates. But Isabella wasn't moving anymore. And Sophia was screaming. The surgery took 6 hours. Alessandro and Sophia sat in the hospital waiting room, neither speaking. Sophia's hand was clenched so tight in Alessandro's that his fingers went numb. He didn't let go. Blood still stained his suit. Sophia's dress. The floor where they'd walked in screaming for help. When Dr. Chen finally emerged, his scrubs were splattered with red. She's alive, he said. Alessandro's legs nearly gave out. Sophia burst into tears. The bullet missed her heart by 2 centimeters, Dr. Chen continued. She lost a lot of blood, but we got her stabilized. She'll need weeks of recovery, maybe months, but she's going to make it. Can we see her? Sophia whispered. She's unconscious.
But yes. Come.
They followed him to the ICU. Isabella lay in the bed, tubes and wires connected to her, monitors beeping steadily. She looked so small, so fragile. Sophia climbed into the chair beside the bed and took Isabella's hand. I'm here, she whispered. We're both here. Alessandro stood at the foot of the bed, watching the woman who'd saved his daughter's life. The woman who'd fought off kidnappers and stood up to teachers and defied him when he was wrong. The woman he loved. I'm not leaving, Alessandro said to the nurse. Bring another chair. They stayed there for 3 days. Isabella woke up on the 4th morning. Her eyes opened slowly, confused, searching. Isabella. Sophia was on her feet immediately, leaning over the bed. You're awake. Papa, she's awake. Alessandro was beside Sophia in an instant, his hand reaching out to touch Isabella's face gently.
Hey.
Welcome back. Isabella tried to speak, but her throat was too dry. Alessandro held a cup of water to her lips, patient as she took small sips. Sophia? Isabella finally rasped. I'm okay, Sophia said, tears streaming down her face. You saved me. You saved me again.
That's
my job. Isabella managed a weak smile. No, Alessandro said firmly. Your job was to fold laundry and make beds. Throwing yourself in front of bullets was never in your job description. Isabella's eyes found his.
Had to.
Protect her. You almost died, Alessandro said, his voice rough. We almost lost you. But you
didn't.
Sophia crawled carefully onto the bed, curling up against Isabella's side. Don't ever scare me like that again. Isabella wrapped her good arm around Sophia. Sorry, sweet girl. Alessandro watched them together, his daughter and the woman who'd become so much more than a maid. His chest felt too tight. Isabella, he said quietly, we need to talk. When you're stronger. Talk now, Isabella said. Not going anywhere. Alessandro pulled his chair closer. The Corsettis are gone. All of them. There won't be any more attacks. But the council is demanding answers. About us. About why I burned everything down to protect you. Because of Sophia, Isabella said. No, Alessandro took her hand. Because of you. Because watching you fall, thinking I'd lost you, it made me realize something I've been denying for months. Sophia sat up, watching her father with wide eyes. You were never just a maid, Alessandro said, his voice steady now. You were never just Sophia's protector or my employee. You became essential to us. To me. You became ours. Isabella's eyes filled with tears. Alessandro. I love you, Alessandro said. I'm in love with you. And I don't care what the council says, what the old laws demand, or who thinks I'm weak. You're part of this family now. If you want to be. Isabella looked at Sophia. Does this? Are you okay with this? Sophia's smile was radiant, the first real smile Alessandro had seen in years. "I wanted this for so long," she whispered. "I wanted you to be my mom. But I didn't think Papa was brave enough to ask." Alessandro laughed, his eyes wet. "Your daughter just called me a coward." "Our daughter," Isabella corrected softly. "If you meant what you said. Every word." 2 weeks later, Isabella was strong enough to come home. She couldn't walk without help yet, but she was alive. Healing. The council had objected, of course. Frank had threatened to quit. Several of the older soldiers had grumbled about tradition and respect. Alessandro had told them all the same thing: adapt or leave. Most had adapted. Now, Isabella sat in the garden in a wheelchair, a blanket over her lap. Sophia was reading to her from her favorite book. Alessandro sat beside them, his hand intertwined with Isabella's.
Papa.
Sophia said suddenly, looking up. "Can we take a family photo?" Alessandro's throat tightened. "Yeah, sweetheart. We can." Marcus took the picture on Alessandro's phone. Sophia stood between Isabella's wheelchair and Alessandro, holding both their hands, her smile bright enough to light up the world. "Say family," Marcus called out. "Family," Sophia shouted. The camera clicked. Later, Alessandro would frame that photo and put it on his desk, right beside the one of Gabriella. Because love didn't replace love, it expanded it. As the sun set over the Romano estate, Alessandro looked at his daughter, no longer crying, no longer afraid, holding hands with the two people who loved her most in the world. He'd been a Mafia boss who'd lost his way. But a woman in a maid's uniform had shown him the path back home. And this time, he wasn't letting go.